The 390 ranking points Alex Eala earned here last year are about to expire, and she has just arrived at the 2026 Miami Open. Not after her first game, not tomorrow. As the people assemble and the cameras roll, 1/4 of what she has created is being silently erased by the 52-week rolling mechanism. The Queen is here. The clock has already begun to run. This is not a tale about a moment that went viral. This is a tale about what Alexandra Eala truly needs to do and what occurs if she doesn't. This past year has also been quite an exciting journey for Eala. She also had some fantastic outcomes from a wild card position. James Blake, the tournament director, has already validated the math that no one is celebrating. Regardless of the seating arrangement, Eala will have center court at the 2026 Miami Open. Stadiums are packed with Filipinos from all around the world. When Eala performs, broadcast numbers rise. When she goes, they fall. Fans were actually crammed into smaller venues that were unable to accommodate the demand in Melbourne and Abu Dhabi. Blake had a straightforward response for Miami. Put Eala on the largest court possible for each and every game. However, James Blake is unable to solve the number 390 using a court assignment. Alexandra Eala is ranked 29th in the world as of March 16, 2026, with a career-high 1,520 ranking points. Exactly 390 of the 1,525 points were obtained at this tournament a year ago. That represents almost 25% of her total ranking. When the 2026 Miami when the open draw started, the points started to vanish. Her base falls to 1,145 if they are not replaced. And based on the forecasts, that will be sufficient to move her back to a position between 50 and 60. Tickets are sold by the Queen frame. The math doesn't give a damn. Because they have so many admirers all throughout the world, I believe we will need them to be at the center for it. The origin of the legend. You must revisit Miami 2025 in order to truly comprehend Miami 2026. As a 19-year-old wild card with a ranking of 140, Alexandra Eala entered the competition. No protection, no fertilization, and no practical route beyond the first week. What came next? In the Open era, no Filipino player had ever accomplished this. Eala defeated 3 major champions in straight sets at the same event, making history as the first wild card in WTA history. Not 1. 3. The 2017 French Open winner Yelena Ostapenko lost 7-6, 7-5. The tournament's atmosphere was entirely changed by the Filipino spectators in the arena that day. The 2025 Australian Open champion Madison Keys was then defeated by Eala's defensive baseline strategy in straight sets. The match that altered everything then arrived. World number 2 at the time, 5-time Grand Slam champion, and quarterfinals. After losing 6-2, 7-5 to a 19-year-old wildcard who had been training at the Rafa Nadal Academy since she was 13, Iga Swiatek left the court. The run came to an end in the semifinals. 7-6, 5-7, 6-3 Jessica Pegula beat Eala. However, those 390 ranking points propelled Eala into the top 100 and ultimately the top 30. These are now the precise points that require replacement. The governor was absent, and the Queen arrived. One particular story, that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis triggered something called __quote, has dominated viral material in the days preceding Miami 2026. 3 underscores for the entrance of Alexandra Eala. A tennis player receives a royal welcome at the state level. The facts are crucial in this situation. This script's documentation is unambiguous. No official government source or traditional media outlet has verified the assertions. The story of ___4__. The ___quote _5__. Everything seems to originate from a very particular area of the digital content economy. Eala's name has gained significant cultural power due to the __quote _6___ narrative specialty. However, it's not always easy to distinguish between hype and confirmation. What has been verified? As a high-profile seed and important source of income, Eala is granted more protection and media access. What has been verified? The center court ruling was issued by James Blake. What has been verified? The participation of the Filipino diaspora at Eala's games is a proven, quantifiable, and commercially significant phenomena. A true cultural reality is reflected in the underscore quotation, underscore 7, and underscore title. A digital invention is the governor's protocol. At that point, things start to get fascinating because the difference between the two realities reveals something crucial about who is in charge of Alexandra Eala's story and what transpires off-camera. The crown's fragility. Eala's growth has been demonstrated by the 2026 season. She faced world number 4 Coco Gauff in Indian Wells and was ahead 6-2, 2-0 before Gauff withdrew due to an arm injury. That opening set was cited by analysts as evidence that Eala can actually contend with the top 5 worldwide. However, it is impossible to ignore what transpired in the very following game. Czech Republic, Linda Noskova. Final score, 2-6, 0-6. A collapse so total that it appeared as though a new player had entered. The problem is that this isn't an isolated incident. Alexandra Eala has a career record of 0 wins and 11 loses against Czech opponents. She was tutored by Joan Bosch and David Gomez at the Rafa Nadal Academy. 0-11. Eala has failed to find a solution on every surface, on any level, and especially against Czech players. Why is explained by the numbers. With a top 5 ranking on the WTA circuit, 39.3% of return games won, and constant pressure on opponent serves, she has an exceptional return game. She won 61.3% of those points with a superb 65.5% first serve. However, the two flaws. 39 in 13 games, or 3 per game on average, and just 10 aces in those same 13 games, less than 1 per game, become a serious issue against Czech baseliners who recover everything and punish every second serve that is lost. The energy comes from the crowd. The doubt is created by the serve. The draw created the rematch, but the 2026 Miami draw has subtly, perhaps purposefully, set something up. Miami is where Iga Swiatek is. With 5 Grand Slam victories, she is now ranked 3rd in the world after Aryna Sabalenka won the Indian Wells Championship in 2026 and maintained her top ranking. It is predicted that Swiatek will face Eala in the 3rd round rather than the quarterfinals or semifinals. 3rd round. Eala shocked her 6-2, 7-5 in the quarterfinals in 2025. A 3rd round collision significantly alters the calculations, but the retribution story essentially writes itself. After watching that 6-2, 7-5 loss for a full year, Swiatek arrives earlier and with greater urgency. With 390 points already lost and the ranking clock running, Eala arrives still trying to find her flow. Swiatek once again used the left-handed angles, strong topspin, and early take baseline aggression that Eala developed at the Nadal Academy. Miami 2026 does not yet know the answer to the issue of whether they can hold against a player who has had a full year to develop the counter. In the meanwhile, the marquee is shared by Joao Fonseca, the other James Blake who has been confirmed for stadium court priority. Following ELA's round of 16 elimination at Indian Wells, broadcast partners saw a sharp decline in viewership. These two participants are the focal point of a covert reorganization of the 2026 Sunshine Swings business framework. In the final rounds, Miami needs Eala. It is essential to the tournament economy. What $1,745,329 cannot purchase. Alexandra Eala's career prize money is $1,745,329 as of March 16, 2026. Athlete of the Year from Nike, Adidas, and the Philippine Sports Writers Association. Public acclaim from Maria Sharapova and Martina Navratilova, a fan base that physically swamped the organizers of 2 different major tournaments and made them reconsider how they schedule her matches. Eala has talked about how proud she is to be Filipino and a trailblazer for a nation lacking a sizable domestic tennis infrastructure. It is more than just a symbolic cultural weight. It appears in television ratings, ticket sales, and the choices tournament administrators make weeks before the first ball is hit, but none of that takes the place of a ranking point. The dates of the 2026 Miami Open are March 17th to 29th. Eala is seeded either 31 or 32. The bye for the first round is assured. Why aren't those 390 points guaranteed? What could possibly prevent her from winning the rematch with Swiatek? What is not assured? The ranking that, in the first place, makes the rest of this tale feasible. In Linz, Austria, clay season begins on April 6th. The French Open is coming up. It is mathematically possible to reach the top 20. The top-ranked Filipino has already been verified to qualify for the Olympics. First, though, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, March 2026. Before the first serve is delivered, she has already lost a quarter of her ranking. Alex Eala's deservingness of the queen framing was never truly an issue. The economics, the crowds, and the historic 2025 run are all true and documented. It's a more difficult question. Is Alex Eala able to defend the miracle that united her?